maybe it's relate. But it seems to me like, uh, one cell organism has this cell wall, this membrane around, and it is it is there um, to let in what is nutritious, and not to let in what is poisonous. So that is a well-functioning boundary.
Yeah, okay. You could say that the human skin has that intention, but it can let
Yes.
in what's poisonous as well. So maybe it's just a level of efficiency. You can certainly absorb poisonous things through the skin, but generally speaking, in normal circumstances, it would look after you. It would do its job.
No, like in cells, everything around also reacts with deception. Uh, Viruses has these uh, I don't know, they have some proteins around that are designed to deceive the cell.
It's interesting, that one. That could only be a description from an external perspective. The virus itself is not doing would not have any intention to be deceptive.
Yeah, it is, all of it is
Well, that's
from
just the nature of,
our anthropomorphizing
yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, when we describe it, we could describe it like that, but its action is just to survive and replicate.
And then it's like virus virus doesn't have this membrane. Virus doesn't have boundaries, so for it there are no boundaries.
Yes, so it doesn't know about them. Yeah.
It's just an environment where food is.
Hmm. But when we get down to this stuff, this awakening stuff, I wonder if it's true that the boundaries that people put up are corrupted, are unnecessary even. I wonder if they're only necessary psychologically because of a belief in the need for them. I mean, it's a theoretical thing. It's a big story, isn't it? The people who would transcend your boundaries, who would do you harm, also have boundary issues. They don't believe that your boundaries should be honoured. But if they didn't have that belief, then you would not need boundaries. Yeah, I think it's a story that doesn't go anywhere. But boundaries, having boundaries, respecting boundaries, feeling safe because of boundaries, feeling safe without boundaries or very loose boundaries are all something that does impact us personally, isn't it? It's all, every one of us has a experience with that. So I would say I have no boundaries, but that's only because I haven't discovered them, because they haven't been transcended. They haven't been tested. So I could only say I have no boundaries while ever they're not tested. If somebody were to violate my boundaries, I would certainly know that I've got boundaries. But generally, that doesn't happen. I have no experience of that for a long time. Yet I'm aware. Well, maybe I'm not aware, but well, let's just say I'm aware of other people's boundaries, and that I wouldn't go too far, either physically or verbally or whatever, with other people. So at some level, there must be some kind of respectful boundaries. But I never see them as boundaries. I never, it's just that part of my conditioning that says you don't stand too close to somebody that is honoured. So it's a physical boundary, or some things I might think but not say to somebody because I imagine that they would get upset if I did say it to them. So there's a psychological boundary. But again, it's not noticed. That just happens automatically. What's your experience with boundaries, Anda?
Hi. Yeah. Um, Recently I saw a video from Pernille where she talked about boundaries. Do you hear me?
I missed that. Say again.
Oh, wait. I'm not connected. Oh, yeah, wait 1 moment. Yes. Don't you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So I saw a video from Pernille
Oh, yes.
about boundaries.
Hmm.
And when she said some people have walls instead of boundaries, I recognized myself, at least in certain areas. It was like, oh, yeah, that's it.
You recognize that in yourself.
Yes. Walls instead of boundaries. Oh, yes, absolutely. But it depends on the area.
Mm.
So there are areas where maybe uh, there is not enough boundary or so, and others where I have built a wall, a high and thick wall. Yeah.
So there's kind of two ways of looking at boundaries. There's boundaries that stop things from coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's more than two. There's boundaries that stop things coming in. There's boundaries that stop things going out, and that's our
Mm-hmm.
boundaries. And then there's what the boundaries that we give other people. If that works, I don't know how that works. I mean, it's not such an issue in what comes out from other people, because our boundaries stop that from coming in if it's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly a respect for other people's ingoing boundaries. So there's probably only three main aspects to it. There's ours out and in, and theirs in. And generally speaking, when we talk about a wall, you would be talking about yours in, stuff coming
Yeah.
into you from others, eh?
No, it's both things.
Both ways. Right?
When both, yeah, it has to do with hiding and
And safety.
yeah, yeah. And it's not as flexible as a boundary. A boundary can be flexible.
Mm,
You can adapt it to a situation or to a relationship or something. But a wall is like more like a principle, like yeah, something that is fixed and not flexible.
mm.
And
So,
then reaching out of the wall is almost impossible. While a boundary could be adapted or somebody could be let in, you know? And making a little hole in a wall and reaching out through this hole cannot be very effective.
so the wall, from a point of view of going out, is enables you to hide. Is that right? So why would you want to hide behind a wall? What would be the consequences of not hiding, of showing
Mhm.
yourself that?
Mostly where I recognize there being a wall, it's old conditioning. It's things that have been built up before and that are now opening up. Yes. So maybe there are more and more holes in the walls. So it's not that I would say now consciously I want to hide behind a wall and that there is rationally an advantage to it. No, it's one of all these things, yeah, that have been conditioned and that are now, yeah, questioned and dissolved and moved. And where it came from is clearly that it was the assumption to not be accepted as I am. And so, okay, so let's hide, let's mask, let's, yeah, that's it.
Mm. Do you get that to feel that you might not be accepted by others reflects that you are not accepting something about yourself?
So let's see if I understood the question right. So you mean this assumption that I could not be accepted by others is in reality telling me that there is something that I don't accept about myself?
Yes.
You mean that? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
One way to investigate that is to imagine straight away what others would not accept in you, and then swap others for yourself. So what you imagine others would not accept is exactly what you don't accept.
No, normally, at least the things I'm now thinking about. No, it's just like the feeling that I couldn't handle the reaction of the other person, or I couldn't deal with their arguments or so.
Mm.
Maybe. It depends on the situation, but
Mm. Of course.
yeah.
So their reaction would be what shows you that they don't accept what you're showing.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, it's not rational because it's something that sometimes is triggered, but it comes from, yeah, from childhood.
Mm.
So in
When you
the
showed your,
situation, often it's not even really justified. So rationally, I could say sometimes no, they wouldn't even criticize or so, but it's like a instinct to hide.
mm.
It's really, really irrational. So yeah, I know it's something. Yeah, an old feeling I have to sit with and meet it and be with it and giving compassion. And I observe that this is moving a lot
Great.
recently. So
yeah,
there are a lot of interactions. I have been much more open than before. So yeah, it's
and
moving.
do you get that when these things have been conditioned into you when you were a child, that even though you are now an adult, it is still the child's perspective that becomes dominant when they get triggered, and that changes as you bring your adult perspective to your child's experience, and then that can allow it to change. That child can be software that gets updated by your newer perspective, but while ever it's kept compartmentalized, it doesn't get updated. So it takes exposure for that to happen, looking at it, touching it, feeling it, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So this is how it's changing for you. This is what's going on that's changing it for you.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, crazy thoughts run around. As little as I know you now, it seems almost incomprehensible to me that you have self-doubt.
Well, maybe a lot has changed recently, but there was this spontaneous answer when you said that, like, I was self-doubt. Yeah. And it depends on the topic. I mean, we here in these groups are talking, or at least we always try to talk from like the perspective of consciousness. And it's amazing how deep the conversations can be, even if personally we almost know nothing about each other. It's absolutely not necessary, because it's the same consciousness in from every point of view here. And looking at the human mind, that is different as it can be. It's still the human mind, and we know what we're talking about. And yeah, I can talk about these things. But put me in a group, in a bar, that are talking about who knows what about gossip, and yeah, I'm lost.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's. I want to say me too, but these days it comes from a different place. Once upon a time, it was self-consciousness, but I also recognise it was a lack of interest in a lot of that gossipy
Mm-hmm.
stuff. It wasn't something I never, and so I might not pay attention. I wouldn't be listening properly, so I wouldn't hear, and I just wouldn't be involved. You know, these days, it seems like it's probably a much more conscious withdrawal from that kind of stuff. But also, I'm interested in people. I find that if I ask them questions, but in so doing, I kind of direct the conversation. I'm not interested in the gossip stuff, but I'm much more interested in
Mm-hmm.
why they're talking about that person or
Mm-hmm.
is. You know, it's a tricky one. But I certainly would avoid those situations if there's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hang out with the boys at the pub or anything like that. That's something not interested.
Mm-hmm.
But once upon a time, I probably believed I should be involved in. I I actually had a conversation. Well, a conversation. I had an interaction with somebody today, and they said they were trying to understand me because of my attitude about something or other. And my response was, "Well, you'll never understand me. Don't even try. Just accept that you won't understand me."
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to talk about it, and I didn't see any point in doing that. Forget it. Just accept you won't understand me, and I'm not interested in trying to help you understand my attitude about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a way of me avoiding saying to them, you know, you're heavily conditioned to believe a lot of rubbish, and I don't. And it's not my job to change that way of thinking for you, and I don't want to get involved in it either. So that where once I would have felt like I should be involved and I should be normal, so-called normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I would have described myself once as being very shy, yet nobody knew I was because I was still outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
But it took effort. Even as a child at school, I would ask the teacher questions all the time, but I had to make myself do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a fear-based thing anymore. That's whereas there's still remnants of that for you, eh?
Yeah, but who knows? Yeah, they are still there, but I would have to experiment a little bit because how I relate to other people has also changed. There is more spontaneity. How do you say that?
There's spontaneity.
Spontaneity and openness. Yeah. The thing is, now I'm not seeing so much people as before because recently I quit my job and now I'm a freelancer. And so there are not so many interactions that are like forced. Sometimes I see people, but it's more like chosen people
Mm,
and
mm,
not, yeah. So I have not so much experience since this shift, how I would now be different in social situations. But yes, there were a few, and now when I look at them, they have been more relaxed. Yes.
mm. Well, that's an excellent situation now. Much more potential for discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So before you were freelance, you were told by a boss you had to go and do this or do that.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of colleagues, and so yeah,
And now you have the liberty to just interact with people that you feel okay with.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And it's not that I would say I didn't feel okay, or maybe yes. The thing is, it was just a lot, and um, yeah, on very, very different levels. And so, yeah, yeah.
I also changed to freelancer. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, the greatest change was that now I'm representing only myself, not
Yes.
not the company that has tradition and reputation to uphold, and it was so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a huge thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. I can imagine the difficulty that might turn up if you were desperate for more work and you had to work with people that you didn't like or people that didn't, work in situations that you didn't like. That would change things a bit. But if you're able to get as much work as you want with good situations. That's really excellent.
Mhm.
How about you, Ramesh? Are you getting much work these days?
Not really,
Hmm.
but I'm trying my best, uh, working on my portfolio and projects that I enjoy working on. Um, but some part of me feels mm, like my inward experience somehow is affecting the situation. I can't explain. Like there's a feeling of hesitation, or like somehow I'm blocking any opportunity.
Hmm. Do you see? Do you do you have a story about why?
I I can assume it's maybe a lack of self-confidence.
So would you say that that was that your boundaries are very close because of that?
What do you mean?
Well, self-confidence means that you're inhibiting expression. So you're being your inclination to express, to put out there is very limited. You're very close, holding things in closely. If you had lots of self-confidence, you move your boundaries a lot further out. You're a lot more expressive.
That sounds true. Yeah, it sometimes it feels like there is like a bird is being trapped inside and it's trying to get out somehow. And it's like it's almost claustrophobic or
Mm. Mm.
inhibiting.
even go as far as to say the cage walls are very close.
But at the same time, I feel like I'm more free than ever before.
Mm-hmm. So they're moving. Something's changing in you. That's good, isn't it?
I guess maybe there's levels or layers of that prism.
Mm. And no doubt they change too, according to circumstances, according to your mood, according to your level of energy. All sorts of things affect them, so they can be bigger and smaller at any time. Yeah. Can you isolate what needs to happen for things to be better?
Sometimes I feel uh, that it's more energetic, like some like paying attention to the energy moving in the body and the areas where it feels blocked or something. Like somehow there's something that I can do with my attention. Like if I saw it from different perspective, something will click and the block is removed somehow.
Mm-hmm. So you definitely see it as a possibility that it can happen.
Yes.
Great, great. That's a huge thing. Yeah. And do you sometimes feel as if you're close to that happening? Does it
Sometimes
feel like you're right on the edge of it sometimes? Yeah.
when it gets very intense, just like something is about to just explode.
Mm-hmm. But explode in a good way. How do you mean
You
explode?
explode in an unknown way. I don't know.
I know, I like that. Unknown, yeah. Right. So it feels like there's a build-up of pressure sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of pressure.
Mm.
But there's doubt still about like not being able to imagine what it would be like to not have this feeling of uh, tightness or something.
Mm. Because it's been there for a long time. It feels familiar.
Yeah, it's like something is holding into this experience of or kind of perspective, or and it's like there's a lot of energy is put into holding this like position or this tension.
But that's not something you have control of, is it? That that comes from somewhere unknown. That holding on. That I imagine I'd call it a bomb casing. It's the outer that holds all of that explosive energy inside. But that comes from somewhere unknown, doesn't it?
Sometimes it feels it's happening. Sometimes it feels like I'm doing it.
Okay. When it feels like you're doing it, can you see what's behind it? Can you see the intention?
Uh, maybe control.
Well, that sounds like that's what it would be. That's what is happening, is an attempted control. But what's behind that? What's the need for it or the want for it if it's not a need? Control's a mechanism. What is the purpose of it?
I don't know. It feels like it's mechanical.
Yep, yep. Okay, so when you say it feels like you're doing it, that doesn't fit, does it? If you were doing it, you'd know what it was about. You'd know what the purpose. But so therefore, even though it feels like you're doing it, you're not.
That's obvious when it doesn't feel like I'm doing it.
So could you clearly say it's happening, just happening?
Yeah, it is. It's like it has its own momentum. It's habit.
Hmm. Does that feel? Could you describe that a bit like Anders' wall? Is it like a wall around you?
Mm, that doesn't
Doesn't
make
feel.
sense to me.
Hmm?
Doesn't feel right.
No. What does it feel like? If you imagine that pressure's building up, it's stopping it from getting out, isn't it? in order to build up. So what's it pushing against? What comes to mind as a metaphor for how it feels?
If it feels more accurate to say that I am the wall.
Okay. When you say I am, do you just think about the body or something else?
I don't know what you mean by the body.
Hmm. So
It's
what's the feeling that happens for you when you say I am?
sensation. Like an imaginary boundary of sensations, but I can't find it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really interesting one, isn't it? So it's like there's a pressure building up, but it's not contained by anything. It is the thing itself. Is it solid all the way through? Is there any spot in it where the pressure is more intense? The inner part, the outer part? Does it have an inner and outer part?
It's more intense inside, like the core is more dense,
Hmm.
which feels mostly in the throat.
So if the core is more dense and it's building up, it's like it wants to expand. Does that feel right?
more like dissolve
Ah,
or relax.
so is that pressure dissipating?
Whenever I feel like it's relaxing or mm, not prominent in my experience, the moment I notice the it gets intense again.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the noticing is creating it somehow.
So would it be accurate to say that it responds to your noticing?
Yeah, it does. And this is what I was trying to say is like and it responds when maybe the quality or the way the noticing can make it move differently or
Mm-hmm.
and I can notice also there is a mechanism of control, like maybe I can dissolve it by looking at it from a different perspective or a different side or, um,
Would it be fair to say you can also make it more intense by looking at it from a different perspective?
yeah, and actually that's easier to do.
Mm.
It's easier to make it more intense than to make it relax. And there's a I find myself like playing with it, like
Mm.
making it tense,
Great.
not intense.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. So what if you were to try and make it as intense as possible? Do you think you could reach some kind of crisis point?
I try, but
It kind of never gets there, changes its mind kind of thing?
uh, it usually stays in the at like the max intensity and just stay like that.
Oh,
Doesn't
okay. Yeah. So you can't get it any more than that. You can take it up to that, but no further.
that's why I feel like it's like it has like some kind of threshold where if it increases, it's gonna dissolve. It's gonna something,
Disappear?
or it loses the boundary.
Hmm.
Uh,
So do you frequently play with it?
Yeah, I think so.
Does it have an aspect, feeling of being an old friend sometimes?
Maybe. Yeah, there is a sense of familiarity.
Would you go as far as to say there's a sense of an aspect of comfortable in that familiarity?
No.
So it's more like seeing how long you can hold your hand under the hot water before you have to take it out.
Yes, it's like having to stand too long on injured leg or something.
What comes to mind if I say, can you imagine not having it? Can you imagine that one day you wake up and it's not there anymore? How would that feel?
Empty?
Hmm. So, excuse the pun, but it feels like it fulfills something for you.
I suppose it does, or it wouldn't be here.
It was a shitty pun anyway, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, of course, that's always the case. There's always some advantage to whatever we experience. Otherwise we wouldn't experience it. But yeah, even if it seems a bit of a contradictory thing.
Ramis lost connection.
Yeah, I guess so. He just disappeared. Yeah.
Oh. I'm tired. I have. It seems to me that my anxiety about work is in fact at least two anxieties fighting each other. Yeah, with different directions, maybe more.
That must be pretty exhausting.
Yeah. But now I'm just watching them.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. Especially if you can watch them without opinions about them. You just don't shape them then. You just see what is.
There's just no point.
No. And when you get, silly word, but when you get relaxed in watching them, then things will get revealed to you. You'll see things. When you're busy having an opinion about them, creating a story about what they mean, you don't get to see what they're offering.
Somehow they work out. They have till now. It's very bumpy, but I get to my destination somehow.
Mm. Okay, well, I'm going to go. It looks like Ramez is not coming back.
Okay.
Come on. All right. See you later.